Right, good evening, everyone. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. I haven't made a mistake or the settings have all mucked up. I am F1 Gatecrasher. I'm a Destiny streamer, but also do this interview podcast. Joining me today, that way, is a top notch Destiny content creator on YouTube. I have Jav joining me this evening. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, man. It's been a bit of a crazy day, so I've got my coffee just to keep my coffee levels up in my bloodstream. But yeah, other than that, dude, it's been doing all right.
Yeah, uh, I'm drinking something different. I'm trying to cover the label because I don't want to be
I
breaking
think
any rules.
I think if I had one of those, my friend, I'll be asleep before you know it. So it would make for a very interesting podcast, let's be honest.
So, thank you everyone that is joining us this evening. Hopefully, or we will find out lots of interesting things about my special guest this evening. So, for anyone that hasn't been into one of these podcasts before, we usually do, well, if you include a quick fire round, there's five different subjects this evening. Getting to know Jav better, Destiny, gaming, and what he's known for, content creating. So that's the process that we go through. So we'll start off with getting to know you better.
Mm.
So I know there's some people in America watching at the moment. So whereabouts are you from?
I'm just north of London, so I'm sort of floating in and around Hertfordshire. That's normally my neck of the woods, really. That's where I've always sort of grown up. I haven't really sort of flown too far from the nest,
Yeah,
to be honest. No real particular reason for that. I guess I just sort of like got, friends, family, and stuff. I stay pretty close to those. But yeah, that's sort of my neck of the woods, really. It's quite nice to be quite close to London, although it's all things considering current circumstances, I haven't been into Central in quite a while. But
yeah,
it's nice to be able to have the option, if I want to go to like Birmingham for an event or a convention, it's literally only an hour or two up the motorway. And if I want to be in the central London, I can be in there in half an hour. So it's quite good. And also you get the work-life balance as well. It got the rat race of being in a city all the time. And if you want to escape to the country, Hertfordshire has some nice fields and stuff, and that you can go have a bit of a stroll and stuff. So it's not too bad.
yeah. Well, it's quite similar. I live in York. So obviously
Mm.
York's a city. It's a small city, full of tourists. Well, not full of tourists at the moment, but where it's situated is it's a city, but 20 minutes, half an hour, 40 minutes up the road, you've got the North Yorkshire Dales, and
Yeah,
you've
lovely
got
stuff.
the East Coast, Scarborough, and all that to visit. So yeah, it's I know where you're coming from. It's just nice. It's like me dad's moved to Leeds and he hates it.
Mm.
It's just it's too big. It's too
It's it,
busy. It's
it's a weird one, isn't it? Because like when you're younger, you don't really appreciate those sort of like escapes in life. As you grow older, I like to think a little bit wiser. I like to think I'm improving in those areas, but like you really do start to appreciate them. And I guess times like this, like going to the Dales, is probably quite a nice thing to do if you just want to get a bit of outdoor time.
yeah,
Because your other options are very limited and stuff. I do definitely feel like you appreciate that stuff a bit more so now than ever. To be
yeah,
fair, so
yeah. So what was life like growing up? School, friends. What did you enjoy
Ooh.
doing as a kid growing up?
I was a bit of a joker. I still like to think I'm quite funny, although they're more dad jokes now at best. Um, but I'm still in touch with a lot of my school friends. So I've got quite a close group of friends. It's a very small group, maybe like half a dozen or so.
Yeah.
Um, uh, we were sort of I did all sorts of stuff when I was growing up, like mainly like skateboarding and all sorts of stuff. I did that for like 4 or 5 years and, had a few local sponsorships and stuff like that, which was quite good.
You
And
must have
sort of
been
towards,
fairly good at it then if you had some sponsorships.
yeah, yeah. So we did some various sort of recordings and stuff in London. That's why sort of being in Hertfordshire was quite nice because if you wanted to jump into to London and go down to South Bank or various other spots in the city, you could do that relatively easy. But you know, a lot of them are built with anti-skate in mind, so
Ah,
you can't, you know, stairs have got those annoying little slabs that stop you from skating around them and stuff, which is fair. But you know, back then they didn't really have that stuff, so you had a bit more freedom to do that. So I did that for like 4 or 5 years and stuff. It's quite funny actually because like came across my old board in the garage when I was clearing it out maybe a couple of years back, and you always sort of challenge yourself. Can I do a kickflip still? Have I still got it, man?
yeah.
Um, and you challenge yourself, and yeah, I can do that. I'm still okay on a board, but it'll only get more difficult. I guess it's a bit like riding a bike, right? Once you've done it for a while, you're quite comfortable with it. It's not too bad. So I did that in my early sort of teenage years, I guess in and around sort of college after leaving school. When I left college, though, I sort of moved more into sort of music as a way of, I guess, I've always guessed been quite creative, you know, whether it be with a board or with an instrument. I like to
Yeah.
keep my mind active in those types of ways. So I was in a band for maybe about yeah another 5 or 6 years. I said that tends to be my time frame for things really.
What type of
Um,
music was this band?
uh, it's more like rocky music, so very like Fall Out Boy stuff like
Oh,
that.
right, yeah.
So yeah, we did that for a while. We were quite good again. We had like various opportunities present themselves. Um, we went to the Yamaha head office in Milton Keynes, and they had like a live lounge in there. So we had some live play sessions in there, and had a interview with BBC Radio 3, and had our track played, which
Oh,
was quite
right.
nice. So we did a few little things, man, and we did, you gig the circuits and stuff like that. But that's a full time thing in itself. You know, you've got all the marketing that you try to do, all the networking with different venues, try and get yourselves in, in inner circles, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot, especially when you're trying to balance, you know, what was a hobby with with a normal day job, which at the time I think I was working probably in a contact center somewhere. So, whilst I was still living at home, so it was something nice to keep you busy, but also keeps your, your friend network quite close. And we're still talking now. In fact, we've recently re-recorded one of our old tracks, and we've just done like like a lockdown sort of version. Like we're just doing a lockdown video for it, similar to some of
Yeah.
the. So we just done that for a bit of fun, really. And obviously, it's probably nearly 10 years since we recorded the song originally. So it sounds a lot different. We sound a lot more professional than we did back then, considering how we used to try and edit music back then on Cubase and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's quite nice to have those conversations and be creative in that way. But it felt weird picking the guitar up again. But like skateboarding, and it was a bit like riding the bike. So it's knowing what to play, not how to play. And it's the same with a board. It's knowing what you want to do, not how you want to do it, because you sort of remember those things. It's muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the things. But yeah, that was sort of my sort of growing up, really. Yeah, little different pieces of creative things. Yeah, childhood, really.
So we could potentially see a Christmas number one on iTunes then.
Oh, I think you're pushing it there. It's not really a festive song, to be fair, but
Oh,
I mean, it's
well,
quite a good, it's quite an upbeat song, but we never know. We never know. I mean, we've seen some pretty wacky number ones over the years, right? So
well,
anything's possible.
that tends to be the UK public that have turned against the X Factor winner.
Yeah.
When
Rage Against the Machine coming
yes.
number one.
So tell me about your family.
Oh, well, like of my friend network, I guess pretty close. We've all been pretty close. We didn't really have a father figure growing up, so we've always been quite a close, supportive family. Very reliant on my grandparents. Grandfather's still here, kicking away. He's probably approaching 90 now, so he's we're trying to keep him safe and do all the right things for him, supporting him and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been all close growing up. I mean, obviously, a lot of my brothers and sisters have sort of gone a bit further afield than I have. But we because we were all close growing up, we've always tried to keep close, even when we're not like just around the corner or across the landing or
Yeah.
wherever like that. So, um, one thing that so like we were close with my immediate family, I would say, but our actual like extended family was quite large. Like my grandparents probably was like a family of like six or eight, and then my mum was probably a you know family of four as well. So it's when you think about how many cousins and second and
Yeah,
third cousins you have, it's almost impossible to keep those close ties going. I think I probably, when I was growing up, I think probably up until my teenage years, I still probably saw a lot of my cousins. But then as you go into adulthood, everyone sort of starts having their own families and stuff like that, and that focus sort of drifts off a little bit. So you know, no real sad reasons for it, but just people just you know drift apart and just have their own lives, and
yeah,
that's fair enough, or move away. Um, but yeah, we've always tried to keep close with my brothers and sisters and stuff. I guess the real aim there is to try and keep, our nephews and nieces having a similar sort of growing up that we did. We were close and would help each other, rely on each other through good times, bad times, be rocks for each other, and and support each other where needed. And that's really what we try and do. Whilst it's probably a bit extended and we don't really get to see each other as much as we used to over the last couple of years, we still try and do that. So yeah, it's like I say, I've not really flung the nest too far, I guess. But like I say, I'm probably no more than an hour away from most of my immediate family. So
yeah.
I did make a point, actually, I think a year or two ago. I actually visited all my brothers and sisters in a single day, which meant I was on the road for most of the day. But I just wanted to make the point that if you want to put the effort in, then
Yeah,
you can do it. So, because a lot of people say, I don't have the time. It's like, if you're saying you don't have the time, it's because you don't want to do it.
yeah.
So I just wanted to prove a point.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, that's
Sh-
it. One now. It cost me a tank in fuel, but what that doesn't, you'd pay that two or three times over just to spend a bit of time. So
yeah. No, that's great. It's what it should be, shouldn't it? Just
yeah, yeah,
always keeping in contact, whether you get to see people or not. It's like my brothers and sisters still live in York. I don't think the last time I saw them was Christmas.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we've got like family like WhatsApp groups and stuff, so we talk on quite a regular basis. Even if it's a jokey thing and stuff like that. And we used to try and arrange sort of regular days out more for the nephews and nieces, like we say, an opportunity for us to sort of catch up because we're all most of my brothers and sisters are self-employed or have their own businesses as well. So it's quite interesting to see what challenges they're having, what successes they're having, and actually be able to talk to them each other on that level, which is obviously a very different conversation to what we would have had as kids.
Yeah,
But it's nice to obviously see our kids, engaging and playing with each other in similar ways that we would. Like when we used to go to like weddings and stuff, we'd see them playing with each other. It's like, holy, they look exactly like we did. There was a
yeah,
there was a photograph of like four of them together. We were like, oh, I've seen that picture before, like,
yeah,
but it was us in it last time. So it's nice in a way. Yeah, it would be nice to be able to do it a bit more. Um, yeah, I'm glad my mum's actually quite techie. We put over the last sort of 5, 10 years or so, we've got her quite up to date with tech. So it's quite nice to
yeah,
be able to FaceTime her because she lives alone now. And being the last one to spring the nest, that's not an easy thing to do. But you feel like obviously you want to keep those ties close as
yeah.
well.
Of course. So away from content creating, away from PC gaming, anything else, having a night in, chill out, feet up
Mm.
on the sofa. What's your favourite film or TV series?
I mean, that don't happen often, dude. Like with a wife and couple of kids, you don't get a lot of free time. Let's be honest. um, I think. I mean, the only real thing that me and my other half really um, enjoy watching together, we quite like watching Suits quite a lot. We've been working our way through a lot of the
Ah,
seasons of that on Netflix. I think we're in the final season though. Mike Ross has come back, which is quite exciting because he's been away for half a season and a half. So yeah, we've been enjoying that. It's something we quite like. Yeah, because he was big into like supernatural and
yeah,
all that Vampire Diaries, which I know your daughter's big into too. So it's like, okay,
Yeah,
I watched that for a little bit.
yeah.
I watched it for a little bit, man. But it's just after a while,
She's
it's just like,
finished. She's finished.
yeah, she's finished it.
She's
Oh,
watched it all.
that's a blessing in disguise, dude. Trust.
She's now scrolling through the Netflix thing to see what she's going to start watching now. I was
Yeah.
like, but
Well, I
no,
don't
she
know what.
enjoyed it.
I mean, once Suits is done, I think the new series of Hell's Kitchen has started, so I'll probably watch
Mm,
that. Um, I'm a
love,
big Ramsey
love
fan.
Gordon Ramsay.
I'm a big, as slim as I am, I'm a big foodie. I do appreciate good food, so I'm one of those guys where you just like, he can't eat a lot. And then I'm the guy that goes in like the harvester and I'll have a rack of ribs and a couple of sides. And you
Yeah.
think it's for like a couple of people. And it's like, no, that's for the skinny dude. And it's like, he's not going to finish that. And then the plate goes and it's just
Yeah.
bones. So it's just like, I'm one of those guys. But yeah, Gordon Ramsay's just, he's changed a lot, man. I remember watching some of the early series just because, COVID, there's not a lot to do. And he was super aggressive in the early series, man. Like,
Yeah, he
some of
seems
the
to have
stuff he used to say,
chilled
but he's definitely
slightly.
chilled out. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. He's definitely a bit of a different Gordon now. But yeah, those would be my two go-tos. Outside that, I'll be stuck, dude. I'll probably end up watching my videos on YouTube or something like that.
So, what type of music are you into? I think you've
um,
sort of maybe hinted earlier.
Hinted, yeah. I mean, I guess being in a band previously, I do appreciate that type of music, but it's quite diverse. It's not like, oh, I only like punk rock or I only like heavy metal. If you think of that whole musical spectrum, I've probably been at each end at some point in my musical life.
Yeah.
But I appreciate what goes into all types of music, even if it's not everyone's cup of tea. Um, any easy listening stuff, I quite like things like well, sort of something corporate and things that are generally quite easy listening. If I'm doing the washing up, I'm pretty doing adult tasks, stuff like that. Um, yeah, I don't really listen to a lot of charty stuff, and that's not out of choice really, but it's just I guess I'm sticking close to music that I'm very familiar with or that I've engaged with at some point in my growing up or in my sort of musical part of my life.
Yeah.
Even if it's sort of like you listen to a track and it's like a bit of a nostalgia thing, like it might have been a track that we covered or we had a track that was similarly based on it and stuff like that. And it's just like, oh, that's cool because it brings back good memories. And I think, you can never really shy away from those. You should try and tap into those as often as possible. Any bit of positive energy is a worthy piece of energy to tap into. So,
Yeah, definitely. Well, the clue from my taste of music's in my name. Yeah, take the F1 off and Gatecrasher. So it's dance music.
yeah,
I'm one of them people. But I don't mind listening to others. Like I was listening today uh, before I went out on delivery. Gary Newman, Cars from 1979, and it's so catchy. And I'm just like
yeah.
that. I'm just like
It's
that,
those
tapping my foot and
It's those hooks, those older tracks, those older dance tracks have some really good hooks that you listen to it in the morning and you're like, what's this that's stuck in my mind? And it will
yeah.
stick with you all day and you can't really explain it. But dude, I've got about as much rhythm as an ironing board, so you won't see me doing any form of dancing.
So, what's your favourite food dish? Your all time? If you could pick anything and it comes out on a platter, served with a waiter, your dream dish, what would it be?
um,
Excuse me.
it's okay. Yeah, I'm a massive steak fan. I'm a huge meaty. Um, I'm a big fan of ribeye steaks, stuff like that. I've got a sort of a cast iron skillet and stuff like that, and we try and do that at home. We're not really naturally eating out too much, but I've been cooking steaks at home for probably 3 or 4 years. So um, I guess watching a lot of Gordon Ramsay and trying to be like, well, if he can do it, then
Yeah.
it can't be that hard. So yeah, just sort of like obviously trial and error, man. I've cooked up some pieces of leather in my time, but I've also done some pretty nice stuff, and I've got a sort of a good hack on it now with
Mm.
times and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess you can't. Steak's a great meal, man. You can. It's not even a. Doesn't even take that long to do. The longest part about doing steak is probably how you're going to do your chips. Whether you're doing oven chips or you're gonna try and double fry them or whatever. That's probably you spend more
The,
time faffing about with your your spuds than you do with your actual
yeah,
piece of meat.
it's
So
got to be proper homemade thick chips for me.
yeah, that's it, man. You know, do that, stick a few onion rings in, and other than like, seasoning the steak, you're really just sort of waiting for everything else to catch up, and then it's just about doing the steaks at the last sort of five or
Yeah,
6 minutes or so,
yeah,
letting them rest while you everything else up, and then put them on the plate last. It's all about timing. That's it. That's cooking. That's half of
yeah,
cooking is timing. If you
yeah,
can't get your timings down, then you're going to be serving up some rare stuff, man. But yeah,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, that's probably me. I can never go wrong with a steak, man.
So, away from gaming content creating, what other things do you like to do?
Ooh, it's a toughie, man. I say it's a toughie, but it's if I'm not here at my desk or if I'm not just chilling watching whatever on Netflix, it'll be spending time with my two sons as best as I can. I mean, they're obviously in school, but like you said before the show, it's half term right now, so you know, working from home and then being around is, it can be challenging at
Yeah,
times, but it's also a blessing in disguise too, because you know, when I was growing up, I never had like, my parents working from home. They'd be either out working or I just wouldn't see them. So it was
mm,
just like, there's a bit of a unique setup in that sense. The wife, she works from home too. So we're sort of under each other's feet. She's taking a break and she'll cover me and then I need to take a break or vice versa. And we try and cover each other off,
yeah,
and stuff like that. But I think when you've got two full-time working parents, just taking that time to, you know, even like tonight, like, got my videos done. Missus have finished work. What do you want to do? He just wanted to. My eldest son just wanted to sit down and watch a few films on Netflix. Ended up watching The Grinch.
ah,
Those
the
little
Jim
things.
Carrey one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's his favorite like Christmas film. I don't know why. But yeah, just he appreciates that time, but he understands, uh, mummy and daddy working hard and that, and hopefully that'll rub off on him in some way. You work hard for what you want, that then you can achieve it.
yeah,
So I feel it's a good thing for him to see, and he shows an interest in what I do as a content creator and stuff. What he wants his own YouTube channel when he grows up and all this sort of stuff. And
I'm
part of the strive for doing what I do is because of him. So I can't really fault him for that.
I can't say too much because well, my my son is going to be 14 on Saturday. It,
Mm,
and he has his own Twitch channel. He's affiliate, and he's trying to
mm.
copy everything I'm doing at the moment. And I'm just like, you need to knuckle down at school. That's just
Yeah, yeah.
because you've done that, there's no guarantee at all that you can leave school and that's your job. Just sat
Hmm.
obviously streaming, making content or whatever you're doing. Don't get me wrong, he's really good. It puts me to shame sometimes, but I know what I admit that to him. Actually, I think he's watching, but anyway. Uh, but they have to have the other things. Luckily, his older brother did knuckle down, spent years at
Mm,
college, and he's become a fully qualified joiner. And he stayed the
mm.
extra year. He now has a card to say he can go into Europe and work and all that type of stuff. So he sees his brother has done hard work. So I'm hoping, fingers
Yeah,
crossed,
that's it.
he'll follow
It's
that.
definitely there's definitely a line there. I think, um, like my son, he's younger than your son. My son's like he's not even 8, but he's I just trying to encourage him in terms of like the creative side of the process. He's a very creative and artistic person
Mm,
anyway, outside of anything that I do, half the stuff that he does. If I go sit and see what he's done on Minecraft, it just blows my mind half the time. I'm like, I like,
yeah,
you downloaded this. There's no app, there's actually no way that you did it. And then he just shows me all these levers that he pulls and these little trapdoors, all these little things that pop out. I'm like, no way. But he's there, he's done it all himself. And like you say, if they can put the hard work in and knuckle down on what's important and their education, then they're setting themselves up for success later on. And if they put their mind to something clearly, then they can achieve it. And that's the same with anyone in life if you really want it,
Yeah,
and put your mind to it. But you need to get your priorities in order first.
yeah,
You can't run before you can walk. Essentially, right? You need to
yeah,
tick all the boxes as you go.
yeah. Well, like I said to you off stream, my daughter, well, she's just started secondary school doing TikTok. Now
Mm.
she's memorized every single dance on that platform, and she shows me. She wants to be a dancer. Again,
Mm.
I've had the same conversation. Got to knuckle down at school. Da 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 da. So again, fingers crossed to listen to me. They don't listen to me any other time, but
Yeah, this is it. Well, I mean, a lot of it came from like he was watching a lot of Minecrafty videos on his sort of tablet and stuff as a way of trying to, copy a little bit of what they're creating, because they have like adventures and stories and create various things like pirate ships and all this sort of stuff. And he
yeah,
wanted to try and recreate that, which is cool. But then he was seeing that they were getting like this YouTube button, this plaque with like silver plaque with a name on it, and he
mm,
was like, Daddy, how do I get one of these YouTube buttons? And normally, if it comes to me, it's like, oh yeah, you just buy it. And I was like, oh no, no, this isn't something you buy. You have to earn it.
earn it. Yeah,
And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, you earn it on merit based on your hard work. You need to achieve, 100,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel, and then YouTube will send you one as a reward, as a thank you. So he's like, I really, really want one. So I was like, okay, well, Daddy will work really hard, and if I get one, then you can put it on your shelf in your room. So that's the goal.
yeah,
Get the plaque, but give it to him because
yeah.
I've got
Oh, that'd be
other
nice.
things that I'll be working on. But yeah, he can at least have that, and then I'll be like, look, you work hard at school, and then when you're old enough, if you want to follow that journey and get your own one, then we can walk down that path. But until then, I'll work on it. You focus on what you need to do, and then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it together.
Yeah, cool. So obviously, I mentioned where my name came from, but how did you come up with or come by the name? I'm going to say this right, Javinus.
Yeah, Jarvinus, yeah. Spelt with a I, not a U. Imagine it. um, I was Jarvinus is just an extension of Jarv, really. I was given Jarv as I think given. It was really weird how it happened. It was like secondary school. I think someone was just making some Jarvis Cocker jokes. I think I can't
Ah,
even remember the
Jarvis
real
Cocker.
context behind it. Yeah, um, and I was the only one to respond to that statement or the punchline in that joke or whatever. And it's sort of like I got the nickname Jarv from that point forward. And in life, I've probably been called a lot worse.
Yeah,
So I'll be like, you know what, this it's nice to take it. And it's sort of stuck really. And then Jarvinus was just sort of an extension of that. Um, I think I got called so many weird extensions of Jarv, but my friends just having a bit of a laugh and stuff. But ultimately, it's always come back to Jarv. So that's really it, to the point where I think my mum even accidentally wrote it in my birthday card one year. So it's it really does stick.
yeah,
It really does stick. So yeah, it was quite interesting how it came around. But yeah, even through my band years, that was the sort of like alias that was put out, I guess, is Jarv. That's my name, and
yeah,
to the point now where it almost feels like it is my name. Like it doesn't really, if someone said it, I wouldn't even think twice about turning around or responding to you. It's literally just it is
yeah,
what it is, part of me.
yeah.
Um, so it's an extension of me, I guess.
Oh, nice. So, just before we move on to the next subject, I can see you all chatting away. Um, Skull Rider, thank you very much for the host. It's very kind of you. It's Trudes, thank you very much for the follow. Uh, and if one of my mods in chat would like to give a shout out to a mutual friend that me and Jav have, uh, Mr. Grandad, if we can get a shout out for him as well.
Is he still awake? I'm pretty sure it's past his bedtime now, isn't it,
Yeah, I was
Granddad?
thinking that. He's He's
I thought
obviously
his prescription said he had to be in bed by 10 o'clock. What's he doing awake?
well, yeah. Uh, so yeah, so thank you very much, the follows, the hosts, and everything else. So the next subject we're going into is gaming.
Mm.
So, what was the first video game you ever played?
Ooh. I remember the first console we had. We had the Sega Master System, the original one, just with the square control. Well, I say the rectangle controller with
The
just the
Master
D-pad and two
System.
buttons on it.
Yes.
Yeah, so it had Alex the Kid built in. Um,
In Miracle World.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we had that because games back then were quite expensive, from what I remember. The little cartridges and stuff. So we didn't have too many. So I guess the selling point to our grandparents, because like I say, my grandparents were a massive influence on me growing up and trying to convince them
Yeah.
to buy us something like that, was they had a game built in and they wouldn't have to buy anything for us. And they will after over time, but
Yeah.
it's an easy gift, isn't it? What do we buy? Buy them a new game. Keeps them happy for a couple of hours. So yeah, I'd say that was probably the first game that I played. But the Master System was quite a unique console, wasn't it? Like blowing the cartridges because they wouldn't work, and the pause button actually being on the console. And
Yeah.
we used to play it on Sundays mostly because it was at my grandparents. So we used to stay there at the weekends and then go back home for school during the week. So we'd play it over the weekend only, really. Um, but yeah, we'd play it mostly on a Sunday, and then because there was no save cartridges, so you'd have to pause the game, but don't hit that pause button too hard because it probably is going to crash your console. But you won't know until you've had your Sunday roast and you go back and realize that the console's actually frozen and you have to start from scratch. So that happened on
Yeah.
more than one occasion. But I guess
So,
it's,
so see, we're moving into the next generation of consoles. But
mm,
when you think back to like the Master System, because I had a Master System, to fix to fix it, you just blew into the cartridge or blew the dust out where the cartridge went. It was fixed.
yeah.
The complete game was on the cartridge. There was no DLCs or no nothing else. The complete game was always there. But the downside was, what was it I played? Sonic, was it Sonic the Hedgehog? And I'd got to the second to last level, and it took me 6 hours one day. Well, over time, obviously, like I say, muscle memory, you learn what enemies are coming out and what's swinging and when to do. So it took me a while to get to the point, and I got to the last level, and it was getting to bedtime. You got to go to bed, and I'm like, what?
Oh,
I
no.
can't, you can't save it. You can't save it.
Can't
So,
say that.
and then my mum walks in and goes, "Ping, power button." I'm like,
Oh, bro. I can't even tell you how often that had happened in my childhood. Um, I think the worst occasion I can remember was back. This was when I was a bit older, when I was a bit of a cocky teenager, and this was back in probably Modern Warfare 1. And
mm,
I used to sort of join a lot of Xbox parties with my friends. You get like 12 in a party, and we used to set up private matches and stuff and just play, 6v6 against each other. And I think we were just playing team deathmatch online. I don't think there was a full team, full fire team that night. And I just remember just getting really annoyed with the game, being a bit more vocal than I should have done. Um, and I just remember my mum shouting upstairs saying, "Will will you turn that thing off, or I'm going to come up and turn it off for you?" I remember answering back, going, "It's my Xbox or whatever. You ain't turning it off. I'll turn it off when I'm ready."
yeah.
And obviously, all my friends are there, like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. You tell your mum that, yeah." And then, like, out of nowhere, she comes flying through the door and just pulls the plug out of the wall. And oh man, I didn't even have. I don't even think I had a mobile phone back then, so I had to literally wait until the next day. And my mates were just telling me about what the party was like afterwards. But that was a quick learning curve for me in terms of A, don't talk to your mum like that, and B, it's only a video game. Like, um,
So,
that was probably my
yeah.
worst, my worst experience of it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've gone a bit like that being a parent. So that's something similar has happened to me as a kid. and you always think, I'll never do that to my kids. I'll never do that to my kids. So my son's. This was a few years ago. He's playing Call of Duty, oddly enough, and he's just gone on to his third dual shock because he's brayed the other ones to pieces. So
Oh no.
I could hear it banging coming from upstairs. The fuse box is just in that cupboard there.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like that.
I've never. I don't think I've ever. I've definitely. I don't remember ever breaking a piece of hardware as a result of
Oh,
a video game.
so
Um.
I could hear it, and I could hear it banging, and I could hear it wasn't just a bang of the foot. You could hear it was a plastic on his desk or whatever. So I just went da 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 upstairs sockets, bang, turn off. Should have. It was down here like Usain Bolt,
Yeah.
but he hasn't broken another one. So I suppose
It's
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 learned
it's
his lesson.
it's weird, isn't it? I don't know if it's like just knowing how to express that feeling that sometimes video games give you. I think like sometimes as I may not have known how to express that when I was sort of a bit of a teenager, really. But as I've got older, I have my moments and stuff where I get a bit annoyed or might appear a bit salty, but I'm definitely nowhere near as vocal as I was when I was a bit of a teenager, really.
Oh,
Definitely, definitely quieted down in that sense. I don't know how with Crucible in Destiny, because that can definitely rub you out the wrong way on the wrong day. But
oh, as far as
other
I'm
than that,
concerned, everyone's cheating in Crucible. But I don't go.
everyone,
I don't go
everyone's
smashing me
cheating.
stuff. I
Oh,
don't
he's
go.
toggling. He's toggling for sure. There's no way. There's no way. You know what I mean? Everyone has their moments and stuff.
So, what's your all-time favorite game that you've ever played?
All-time favorite game.
It can be some of the stories grabbed you and played through a single player or anything.
I would say I can't put it on one game, but what I can put it down to is an entire IP, and that would be Halo. And the main reason for that is not just because, and it's the Bungie Halo. Let's be honest, because
Yeah,
the narratives of those games was something else. The way they told story, the way they delivered that in the first real like not truly open world, but the actual maps themselves and the levels felt a lot more open than a conventional FPS shooter had up until that point.
yeah,
Most shooters up at that point felt like you were just fighting in corridors, and this
yeah.
was
It
like,
was
oh no,
yeah,
you go outside and there's like a whole like the thought of a sandbox was a new experience. But for me, it was experiencing that with my now wife. We literally played through all the Halos sort of back to back. She was a bit of a gamer uh, in her teenage years. Put me to shame on Call of Duty most of the time, to be honest.
yeah.
A lot more cool headed than I was. I'll put it down to that. She's a lot more cool headed. But we used to enjoy it. We used to play it on Legendary, doing all the skulls and stuff and enjoying that through. And I remember when she was expecting my our first son, we were playing through can't remember, was it Reach? And the final mission of Reach is in two parts. And I don't really want to spoil it in case anyone hasn't played through it, but the final mission is in two stages. And I remember playing through the first half of it, and she's like, I don't feel that great. And don't feel 100%. She was like I think she was 5 or 6 days overdue at that point.
All
I'm
right.
like, okay, cool. We'll finish this mission and we'll go to bed. So we were like, cool, we'll finish it and we'll go to bed. Um, and she went into labor like the next day, at early hours of the morning and stuff. Dude, it was like nearly 3 weeks before we finished that story mission. It was something else, but it was worth the wait. It was
Yeah.
worth the wait. But just the sort of experiencing the game, sharing those moments together, enjoying time together, and just and the game itself it's a phenomenal game. Bungie ones.
Well, it's
So
it's always classed as like a benchmark that other FPSs, especially at the time, but even now, get measured against to the
it
point.
is, and it's not always just the game. It's mostly your experiences with that game. Because if
Mm,
someone, it could be what in someone's opinion could be a relatively bad game, but if you've just had a exceptional experience, a memorable moment with a group of people or an individual in that game, and that becomes your a key memory in your life that you think about, or a happy moment that you think back to, then it doesn't really matter what the game is.
Mm,
But Halo for me, yeah, naturally it's just an outstanding game anyway, which makes it easy as a pickup. But my experiences with it is like no other experience I've had with any other game,
yeah.
with friends or now family. So,
So away from first-person shooters, what other
mm.
types of game genre do you like playing or enjoy playing?
With my brothers growing up, we used to play a lot of racing games, and that was more, I guess, competitive. Me and my older brother used to play a lot of V Rally on the N64. It'd be funny because I'll get in from school and I'll jump on it and set a new fastest time on whatever track, and he'll come in and he'll be like, right, and race your ghost. And he'll be on it for a few hours, and then he'll beat me by like 2/10 of a second. I'm like, right, after dinner, I'm
Yeah,
gonna beat your time, and it'd just be like a bit of competitiveness, healthy competitive sort of banter with my brothers and stuff. So yeah, racing games, sort of V Rally was one of the early ones. Um, I did rally games specifically. We were big fans of like some of the early Colin McRae games.
oh
Uh, they
yes, classics.
they were really real classic games on the PlayStation. Sort of moved a little bit into Gran Turismo as I grew older,
Mm,
and then into the Forza games. But I haven't played a good racing game in a while because they've moved away from more of the track based games, more to those open world type games.
yeah.
Um, which I get. But I'm more of a guy where you go, okay, put me on the Catalonia circuit in a said car with no assists. What's the best time you can do? And then I think the most recent example of that is me and my friend did it probably on Forza. I think
Yeah,
he had a steering wheel, and we're like, okay, right, we're no assists with steering wheels. What's your best time? And we'd be like posting our little times in WhatsApp. Oh, damn it, he beat me by like 2/10. What the hell? And he'd be like, all right, let's go.
yeah.
So yeah, healthy competitive nature. But yeah, racing games was another thing for me growing up.
Yeah, it's same as me. Well, I still do racing games now. Uh, I love Project Cars, but I race in a Formula One league on a Sunday
Mm,
evening. No assists, no nothing, and it's really good. It's not like a public lobby where it's like Destruction Derby. This is
mm.
proper like you're watching the Formula One on a Sunday. I enjoy it, and it's something different from what I
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
play. There's a lot of thought that has to go into it, car setups and tire pressures and stuff that sometimes goes a bit straight over my head.
Yeah, this is it. I think when Destiny adds something like Sparrow Racing League back in Destiny 1, it's like,
Oh, please
yo,
bring it back, Bungie. Please bring it
this
back.
is
Even
this is
even
right up
it
my street.
even if it's just for a seasonal, even if it just comes out for the dawning, just bring it back just for a little bit.
It was good fun, man. But yeah, that was definitely a moment to shine for me in Destiny. Something that doesn't require even shooting a gun. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
There you go.
So we'll move on to Destiny.
Mm,
It's what you're mainly known for, as am I.
yeah.
Uh, so what got you interested into the Destiny franchise?
Um, Probably the the Halo experiences we talked about. Really, it's
Mm,
an easy transition, right? When the studio that makes the game that you've experienced so many good times with moves away and starts making something else, and then just sort of releases artwork that literally is like nothing else you've ever seen, but expands on the good things that you enjoyed about the game. Um, an open world shooter. It's like that doesn't even exist. What is that?
mm,
A social game, um, basically, with no matchmaking in public spaces, just felt like an impossible thing to achieve. Um, but it's been done, and yeah, that was what got us interested. And obviously, the alpha and beta came around, and actually getting firsthand and experiencing what that's like. Um, I think nothing can really challenge what a Bungie game feels to play, how it feels in your hands.
yeah,
And Bungie make great console games. Like Destiny games feel really good on a controller, which is why they've obviously sort of moved. And then on PC, it's just like a completely different experience altogether, and it's really hard to explain. But it's a really weird transition, and it's a steep learning curve, especially when you spend all your life using controllers. Like moving on, being a PC gamer now, for the last 18 months or so, it's been quite a steep learning curve, um, especially in Crucible. Everyone's better
Yeah.
than you, but you expect that. And I guess the thing that I said to myself when I did play Destiny on PC was like, I could plug in a controller and I'll just be as good, if not marginally better, because of frame rates and field of view than I was on console. But there's that ceiling. You only get so good based on your current skill level, whereas mouse and keyboard potentially has a much higher skill ceiling, but it's just going to be a lot of hard work, and you just got to accept
Yeah.
being below average, even more below average than I already am, for a longer period of time until you sort of get comfortable and find out, what you're comfortable with. Got other things to consider like DPI and key binds and stuff like that, whereas controllers pick up and go.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just the transition from Halo really into Destiny, and then it sort of just introduced new friendships, circles, and it changes people's lives in really crazy ways that you wouldn't ever expect a video game to do. I think as a community, it touches a lot more circles than a video game has ever done. Whether it be um, St. Jude, child charities and events. Supporting other charities, even COVID, and
Yeah.
the Nepal back in Destiny One when they had their bad earthquake over there as well.
Yeah.
No cause is too great or too small to support, and everyone really comes together in like nothing else. There's no other community that sort of binds together when it's needed most. It's really unique. I've never experienced it before. It's one that we shouldn't really take for granted, and we should value really really highly, because there's not a lot of gaming communities that I've ever been part of, at least speaking from my own experience, that are
Yeah.
able to achieve half of what we are as a group.
So, what's the one thing that sticks in your mind that you've either done or experienced in Destiny that's just like a wow moment, sticks in your head?
Handful of things, I guess. I mean, soloing your first dungeon is always a nice achievement. I mean, Shattered Throne was the only dungeon back then, so it's a good personal challenge
Yeah.
as well. Because I don't know, Destiny 2 felt easier than Destiny 1. I go back on Destiny 1 and I feel like I get my backside handed to me by a thrall quite quickly. Whereas Destiny 2, you can just go around and click heads quite easily for a
Yeah.
while. But yeah, nevertheless, being successful in soloing your solo flawless on your first Shattered Throne under power level 2 is a good achievement. I've been part of different clans on my way on my journey. We did like raid races and stuff, and you know those experiences and coming from behind to win those is also, excuse me, a nice experience. Obviously, gives you a bit bragging rights too.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, having bragging rights with groups of friends is quite different. Gamer friends is quite different to having bragging rights with your brothers. So
Yeah.
that was an experience. But it was a good moment. To be behind in a race and come back and clutch it
Yeah.
is once in a lifetime thing, really.
What would you say would be your favourite raid? Probably a question you get asked a bit, but
Yeah, yeah. My favorite raid is no secret. I'm a huge King's Fall fan. I think it's a phenomenal raid. Um, it's got so many encounters that challenge you in different ways, and you could have the most experienced raid team in the world, but if you don't do totems within the first 20 minutes, you're going to be there for 3 hours.
yeah.
Um, and there's no reason for it. It's either just not going to happen or you're just going to do it. I don't know why that is. Because I could raid with the team that I raid with day in day out, and we could just first time every single encounter one weekend and do it in 40 minutes, 45 minutes or whatever. And this is way after the raid had been out for a while, obviously. And then there'd be one weekend where it's like, dudes, we've been here for 2 hours it is literally totems. What's going what's
Yeah.
going on? And then, but you just couldn't, you wouldn't be able to explain it. But it doesn't matter. You're just experiencing it with friends, and it's a good laugh. But um, I guess for me, the thing that really stands out for that raid is Oryx. The,
Where
the
his hands are just like, "Zhoosh, zhoosh," and he just goes "Zhoosh," like that at the side.
Dude, it was just walking to the edge, be like, what's this room where there's no one here? And then
Yeah.
just been like, and he just, you know what I mean? Just like, what is that? It's just like, this guy is a dragon. Like, he's absolutely massive. It's just like, um, yeah. And like you say, the hands, the fists slamming it down. And it's
Mm.
just like, you are merely a pawn on his chess table.
And
And you're,
then people hoping that they weren't going to get uh, what was it called? It was random where they
oh,
got picked between the realms, or and they had to do the little jump, jump,
Oh,
jump.
that was wasn't that the daughters, wasn't it? It was
Yeah,
if you got the
there's
yeah.
people just like, please don't pick me, please don't pick me.
It's quite funny you should talk about that because when we were doing the raid race, the one guy, there's always one guy, there's one guy on your raid team or girl who, isn't comfortable with jump puzzles or just isn't comfortable in those situations. Every other high pressure situation, if they've got a clutcher section or solo aside or whatever, you can rely on them to do it. If it comes to doing a jump puzzle without dying, they might as well leave and come back later. But as part
Yeah.
of a raid race, there's no one can leave and you can't cheese or
Mm.
anything like that. Um, and on that night where we were doing the raid race, the guy that doesn't want to get chosen gets chosen back to back to do the jumping on the platforms, whilst are practically transparent. And he absolutely nailed it. And I was more surprised than he was. I was just like, that's absolutely ridiculous. Like we've done this raid maybe 60 times and you've never done that. I
Yeah.
mean, but for me, I'm colorblind, so whenever I got chosen, it would be an absolute nightmare because I
Ah,
wouldn't really be able
right.
to see the platforms. I
Yeah.
still wouldn't be able to see the platforms too well. Um, so that was a bit of a bummer. Like even now, like there's like a new Shure mic that I really like, but on the mic, you've got like this touch um, screen that you can turn the volume up, and it fades between green and yellow depending on whether it's the mic or the
Right.
headphones. That doesn't work for me because the colors in the spectrum of my color blindness are too close together.
Mm.
They might as well be the same color. Like
Yeah.
they legit might as well be the same color. So yeah, that poses an interesting challenge. Destiny actually is one of the best games when it comes to um, colorblind options. I don't actually play with any of them on personally. I feel like the game's actually quite well um, balanced in terms of the palettes for the key visual callouts.
Yeah.
Because I remember doing it in Call of Duty, and all that does is make the blood look pink. That ain't colorblind. That's
Right.
not why I put colorblind mode on. It's because either I can't distinguish my teammates that well, or one reason or another. But in Destiny, it seems to be pretty well. But in Destiny 1 specifically, that would be the worst part of it. If I got chosen, it's literally pot luck whether I make it to the top or not. And no,
Yeah.
it's not my fault. I can't do anything about it. um,
But yeah, can't go past King's Fault because that was my favourite raid because it was the first raid I ever completed.
mm.
But the wall of dicks.
Oh, the Phallus Palace. Yeah, love that. It
And you used to
had all
spend
sorts of names for
ages,
that thing.
and you used to jump, and it's like, poof, and off you went.
Everyone would do. If you had that new member to the file team, you always troll them in that first sort of like
Yeah,
Toland orb, right?
just stand there.
Go stand there just to activate the encounter for us. See you later, mate. Yeah, easy mode. Um,
So so this can be either. Oh, sorry, I'm stretching me back. In either D1 or D2, whichever.
hmm.
What would you say would be your favourite weapon? So it doesn't have to be exotic; it can be a legendary because there's some good legendaries out there.
Mm. Ooh, it's a hard one. It is a hard one. There's so many weapons in this game, in these games. Um, I think the ones that I've used the most um, is Midnight Coup.
Yeah,
Obviously, everyone gets a couple of thousand kills with a recluse, but that's not hard with the weapons perks and stuff,
yeah.
Master of Arms and that. But I'll probably say Midnight Coup. Although early days, actually thinking back, early days of Destiny 2, I was a big fan of that Manananan scout rifle, man. The one
Ah,
with explosive rounds.
yes,
Yeah, like that for Leviathan was the play. Man, scout rifles need some love. I remember back in Destiny 1
yeah,
actually really, really badly wanting Mida multi-tool, and it was literally the last exotic I got. It was an
yeah,
absolute joke. Um, but yeah, I was a big fan of Scouties actually back in D1. Some of them like the Burning Eye from Trials in Destiny 1. I used to use that
yeah.
in um, Wrath of the Machine because it used to be able to one hit the shanks because of explosive rounds. Cryptic Dragon was also another good scout.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I'm a big scout fan. They're just I probably haven't used a good scout in 2 or 3 years in Destiny 2. And it saddens me a little bit. I mean, there's Randy's throwing knife was all right for a time. Nightwatch is okay if you can get a good roll, but outside that though, they don't hit hard enough,
No,
and there isn't enough diversity in them really. And it is a little bit sad about some of the changes they made to scout rifles. I mean, improving their aim assist to make them more reliant at range is great, but I don't feel like that's where their problem lies, really, making them easier to use.
no,
Um,
because
if
I tend to use or did use the Jade Rabbit in Crucible.
mm,
I've got no issue with hitting my shots. There's no issue with that because it's not like an auto rifle. It's going. It's just a
mm,
ting ting ting, so you can hit your shots. Like you say, they need either a damage buff or they need that aim assist thing. It's
I mean, I don't know how that's going to work, how that'll feel on PC because there isn't a great deal of aim assist anyway. So I don't feel like it's going to have a great benefit. And a lot of the optimal time to kills for weapons, it seems to be in around the zero point 0.9 second. So, 140 hand cannons is 0.87, or rifles are going to be about 0.76 or something like that as an optimal time to kill. So they're floating all around that, but scout rifles are way above that.
yeah,
You're going to have to get, 4 or 5 crits, which in a game with as much mobility as Destiny is on
yeah,
a ranged weapon like a scout rifle is not easy, right? But that being said, my mini tool is being added back to the gunsmith with kill clips. So running that with my multi tool and my mini tool might actually be a
yeah.
fun combo to try again. Even Stern and Drang actually with the 140
Oh yeah,
buffs
they
and the
changed that. Yeah,
110 buffs. Drang's getting added back to the gunsmith, so I might experiment with those two combinations and have a bit of fun with them. But yes, I mean, I guess Scouts is one of my, dark horses. But there's no real reason to use one right now, which is
no.
sad. But in terms of weapons, I am using that I'm a big fan of. CQC shotgun from the Serum
Ah,
Seraph.
yeah,
I got quick draw Vorpal, and I've probably got about 500 or 600 Crucible kills with it this season. So um, I'd pair that with Vigilance Wing, and that's my go-to for Crucible right now.
yeah. I know somebody that swears by that shotgun who's watching at the moment. He's told me the role, which is the role I think that you've just said. So
Mm.
I think it's time to start turning in these Umbrella engrams and trying to get one.
It's funny because I think even I mean, if Grandad's still here, he probably. I remember having this conversation with him because we had the conversation that Fell Winter just feels really inconsistent. While statistically, it's probably got some of the
On
best stats
paper,
on the
yeah,
shotgun on paper. It's the same as a game of football. You can have the best team on paper, but the best team doesn't always. You don't play the match on paper, right? So,
yeah,
um, yeah, just having a CQC with which actually stat wise isn't too bad, can have the same perks. Actually, makes it really strong because from a mobility perspective, you can pull off some pretty crazy things with it.
yeah,
And also the rate of fire is insane. You can fire 2 rounds off before Fellwinter's barely finished its first, especially if you've got assault mag. So
yeah,
yeah, that'd be my one. And I know a lot of people that I spoke to, like Grandad and Rev and other members of the Confluence clan that he's in, swear by that shotgun now. So if you don't use it, I highly recommend that you at least try it because yeah, range stat doesn't matter as much on shotguns as it used to.
Yeah. So we're gonna go on to what you're looking forward to from Beyond Light now. So I'm gonna put an.
How long have you got?
I've got a disclaimer now. So for anyone that didn't watch the Vidoc earlier, there may be things come up from that. There could be spoilers. You've been warned. But please don't leave. You're just gonna have to be. They're gonna have to be spelt for you. So from Beyond Light, where do you start?
Oh man, it's so hard to really. It's hard to know where to start. It really is hard to know where to start. Um, I guess we'll start with the Cosmodrome because that's where we all started, right?
Mm,
Um, so seeing that come back, it's not at full size. That was what the first thing I noticed. Rocket Yard is missing, which makes sense if Sepkis and the Fallen Saber Strike aren't there, because those parts of the map aren't there. So
yeah.
that makes perfect sense. The Omnigore Strike is there, but it's not Omnigore anymore. And that's fine. You know, it's still what it is. But I would say it looks pretty awesome, man. And really getting to learn what the new light experience is going to be like. Having a NPC on there sort of implies that there's going to be a full, not like a mini story, I guess. There'd probably be a mini story to that whole destination, um,
Yeah.
that new and existing players will probably get to experience. So I don't, I feel like Beyond Light isn't really just about this Europa story. See, there's a seasonal story, which we might talk about in a bit, but I feel like there's a story about the Cosmodrome, which eventually ends up with you being at the tower, right?
Mm.
Um, to try and better introduce players to the game. So I think
There's
that's a good place to start.
there's stuff. Obviously, everything, or 95% of the promotional stuff and stuff they've put out is all about Europa, and there's been a very small bit about the Cosmodrome.
Mm.
So it's as if they're not hiding stuff, but there's got to be some secrets there. There's got to be. There's got to be
There'll
something
be
else.
secrets there, but it's also marketing, right? If you're trying to sell your product, you sell it on what's new and what gets people
Well, yeah,
excited. Um, so I get it from a marketing perspective, but I feel like how they've done it potential has great potential. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it'll just be nice to get feet back on the ground there and really sort of experience that story if there's a story there. Um, just yeah, and Europa, man. I think just the whole. I mean, where do you even start? There's so many things about Europa that's just new. The weather
mm,
system, not just, and this is before we even talk about abilities. So, um, I guess the overlying thing that really gets me about Beyond Light though is really probably the Deep Stone Crypt, because other than the name in lore, we don't know anything, and the
mm,
only thing that we do know is from the mysterious logbook in the collector's edition, and that gives us a bit of an idea about what Clovis Bray have been up to since
yeah.
the Golden
Naughty,
Age. You know,
naughty.
throughout the Golden Age, lots of naughty stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, it gives us a bit of an idea. But yeah, other than the name though, and maybe an image on a postcard, man, these raiders have we have no idea what to expect,
Yeah.
and it's the not knowing that gets me excited, because if it's anything as good as what we've seen, if it's half as good as some of the stuff we've seen, we're in for a pretty incredible raid. So
Well, they've
yeah, buckle
shown
up.
they've shown different things, and it could be all speculation. It's like the bit where Zavala is stood there with two Cabal
Mm,
in one bit, and you're like, right, are we teaming up with a Cabal? Is that Bungie's way of not taking them out of the game? We've beaten them
yeah.
once.
So I spoke about that earlier with Houndish before I had to hop out, and the I guess the thing that I spoke about with him was that when you look at the new director, you got four destinations that are going. You've got Mercury, which has got Cabal all over it. You've got Mars, it's full of Cabal as well. You've got Io, that's got a Cabal base, and you got Titan, which hasn't got any. But outside those destinations, when you look at what's left, You've got some on Nessus and some on the EDZ.
Yeah.
So in terms of their presence within Sol, our solar system, they're on the back foot, dude. And if Callus, who is currently, I believe, the highest ranked Cabal within the Cabal Empire, especially within our solar system anyway, is going as well. I don't know how they're going to tell that story, which is unfortunate because I thought the
Yeah.
Callus story was a good one to tell. Um, they've got really no real options. They don't have a great deal of options to turn to, especially with the pyramid ships arriving. They're as under as much threat from them as we are.
We are. Yeah.
But obviously we're in a much stronger position. They're just coming off the back of the Red War and the Almighty being shot out of the sky. They don't have any cards left to play. They don't have anyone to really turn to other than the people that took them out.
Yeah.
So that might be why we see ourselves in the same room uh, as them, because they're blood guards, right? So they're not the highest ranked cabals uh, in their hierarchy, but they're probably going to be some of the highest that are left in our solar system.
Yeah.
So there's that. Um, so it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. But then I guess what we're doing, if that is how it plays out, and we've got, we're on the back foot and sort of team up with them, then I guess if we're forgiving them for what they did in the Red War, is that why? Is that where the forgiveness comes with Crow, which is another crazy reintroduction for the season of the hunt, right?
Season of the Hunt. So, if anyone didn't watch it earlier, uh, the most hated person in probably Destiny history, away from way above Oryx and way above Callus and way above everything else that we've took on over the years, who killed Caird, is reappearing.
Hmm.
Looking slightly different. Obviously, he's not going to look identical. He's got a ghost, and he seems to be an alibi. Oh, a friend. There was cut scenes with us walking with him into somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, so Crow, so he's got he's wearing a spider logo on his torso. So he's obviously been an aid to Spider in some way, in a way that we've not been made aware of.
Yeah,
Um, what blows my mind is Spider is an ally and hasn't said anything up until now about. Oh yeah, by the way, the guy that took out your Vanguard is
the guy you were chasing all the way through Forsaken. I
I
forgot.
guess going back.
It slipped my mind.
I guess going back to he's watching a lot of Suits. He doesn't want to break privilege. And
Yeah,
end up getting himself in a bit of a sticky situation. He doesn't have to say anything if he's got the cards close to his chest. I guess. Um, I guess the key thing here is that Crow doesn't remember what he done in past life. And the same can be said for ourselves. We don't know the life we lived before we woke up in the Cosmodrome, and we could have very much done a similar thing,
well,
but
yeah,
we just won't know. So it's really hard to know. Obviously, we know what happened, and so does most of the
yeah,
most of the last city on Earth. But I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we're walking with him into the Tangled Shore, so I guess that's going to be the start of the story arc to what's going to take place later this season. Um, but I quite like how they're breaking it up. Actually, talking about this now, so all the Beyond Light story will start on November 10th, but then all the seasonal missions won't start until a week later.
yeah,
So it gives us an opportunity to really get through however many story missions there are, eight or so. It's been rumored with some adventures in between. So there's ample time to get through that content, and then we'll start getting introduced to sort of, seasonal missions, whether they be weekly or whatever. They seem to quite enjoy that weekly mission. It actually creates a nice thing to log in and experience to try and see what's new or what's on the agenda this week. You
yeah,
know, Crow might be that guy that you go to about, these weekly missions about doing X, Y, or Z,
yeah.
which might be quite
Because
interesting.
so the way she was explaining it when it came up about the season, it was one of Oryx's other sisters that was recruiting. Oh,
Mm,
so that looks like that's going to be the seasonal thing, whatever that may be. Obviously,
mm.
it was Contact this season, and then you had the stupid Seraph Towers the other season, and so they'll have something like that. And obviously, it's going to involve the hive, but it wasn't quite clear what it was. As long as it's not dunking balls or collecting motes, I'm not bothered.
Yeah, obviously, in terms of what the actual substance of those missions are going to be, I guess we'll find out. Um, but the ultimate aim here is to try and stop Xivu Araf from building an army.
Mm,
If Oryx could build an army, and in a way, it's her way of taking, right?
mm,
Oryx used, the darkness to be able to take pretty much any race that he wanted to build an army for himself. And Xivu Araf is doing a very similar thing. She's not taking, she's corrupting, but it's
yeah,
the same thing. It's a similar thing. The end result's the same. They're going to be fighting in her corner. So
yeah,
it's to try and stop that. But are we merely trying to? Are we merely a stone that's trying to stop an ocean at this point?
yeah.
You know,
And I
um,
think it'll be built up like that because they said this is going to go through all of year 4 and build up to the next one.
yeah, I think you're
So
right.
I
It,
think it's got that feeling of where, or for me personally, that we're going to be made to be to feel like the underdog for the next 12 months,
mm,
and it's going to be made to us to feel like that as we're going through it.
I get the sense as well we're going to be just learning a lot of truths because up until this point we've only really uh, taken what's been told to us uh,
Mm,
without really getting to know what the truth is, if you know what I mean. So this is our first opportunity to really understand both sides and actually find out actually who is right and who is wrong because we've just gone along with it. We woke up in the Cosmodrome and we were told the traveler's the one that's giving you power. He must be good for doing that. But, the same can be said for those on the other side that use the darkness. The darkness is good because it gives you power and it
yeah,
allows you to do the things that you do. So, it's the line is very thin. I think we're just going to start to better understand what it means to be on either side.
yeah,
Um, and like the drifters reference, sometimes it isn't really about picking a side; it's about survival. And it probably is going to come down to that, right? With Savathun and Sifu
yeah,
Araf, it doesn't matter how we do it; it just needs to get done.
yeah.
So it's just going to be a crazy, crazy year.
Well, I cannot wait. I really can't wait. I'm I, absolutely. When I saw the Vidoc and it like swirls around in my head, and I've got more questions and answers, and it's just like
Yeah,
so I
this
can't
is
wait
it.
for
Like
that.
I streamed Reset on YouTube, and the last part of the stream was really about going through the Vidoc again and try and unravel some of the puzzles, like you said, because you answer a question and that would just create two or three more questions for you to try and solve.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I'm going to try and get a good night's sleep before I try and answer any more questions because there's just you could just keep digging, right?
I know.
But ultimately you'll get to a point where it goes, we just got to wait
Gotta
to
wait.
what's going
Yeah.
to come. Yeah.
So last question for the Destiny subjects.
Mm.
So if you could add, remove, or change one thing from Destiny 2, what would it be?
Add removal change from Destiny. Um, I think a thing that I've talked about a lot with certain things with Destiny is depth, and it's not, and that applies to a lot of things because there's been seasonally where things have been introduced, and naturally those content drops are lighter, but they seem to lack depth in terms of keeping players engaged for prolonged periods of the season for one reason or another. It might be like
Yeah,
the Seraph Towers just were too difficult, and obviously the ones we got this season are fine. They're fine, but then you don't want a new public event to be the activity for every seasonal drop as well.
yeah,
And Grandad will back me up on this, and I say it quite a lot to him. An ocean isn't an ocean if it's only 1 inch deep. And
Right.
Destiny can be so big where it's practically an ocean, but if it's got no depth and it's only 1 inch deep, then you're not going to stick around
Yeah.
to enjoy it. Whereas what they're doing now with the DCV is obviously they're making the ocean smaller, and naturally, hopefully, with Beyond Light, they're making you know giving it more depth too. So I'm hoping they're actually addressing a lot of the ways to improve that and try and keep the players retained for longer periods for one reason or another. I think
Yeah.
um, there was an element where they had too much available, too many destinations, too many activities, too many variations of a similar activity, for example, Gambit. Um, so simplifying a lot of stuff, I know Gambit, right? But simplifying a lot of stuff will actually do a lot of good because that'll improve the player numbers in all activities, and that just means better connections for everyone, better
Yeah.
experiences for everyone. And it's just there's a lot of win-wins when you do that. Um, so it might seem like they're taking a lot away, but actually in the long run, it's probably going to serve us really well.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. It's like you say, with so much there, it's like diluting what there is and spreading everything out and the player base out, and it just didn't feel. It's sort of like started there, and then we just went like that and drifted and drifted and drifted and drifted. So much to do. So hopefully this will
Yeah,
bring everything back in. Yeah, totally
that's it.
agree.
Because matchmaking time is going to be ridiculously long. I mean, I just feel sorry for people on Stadia because there ain't many people playing on there anyway. Can you imagine trying to get into a Forge on Stadia? You'd be doing solo trials if you liked it or not, right? So
Yeah,
at least now they have a chance.
yeah,
And later down the line with crossplay, your player base has holds no bounds then. So
yeah, exactly. So the next round, quick fire round. So so I've got a either or, and you've just got to
okay.
pick one. So we'll start with fusion rifles or shotguns.
Based on my CQC, I'll say shotguns.
Strikes or crucible.
Strikes. They don't wind me up as much. Yeah. I feel like I need to justify each one.
Gaul or Uldren.
Oh, Aldrin, I think.
Cosmodrome or the EDZ.
Ooh, that's rough, dude. Actually, I'd say the EDZ.
Hmm. Hmm. I wasn't expecting that. I thought that a bit of nostalgia might have got into that answer.
That would be the only reason for it. I think the EDZ was originally supposed to be a Destiny 1 destination. It was too big to put on the original platforms for one reason or another. Um, but it's still one of the biggest and most well, it's just diverse in so many ways. Um, yeah, it's just an incredible destination all around.
Yeah,
Um, it would be a it'd be a misstep if they took it away, but I feel like there's a lot of work they can do to try and re-engage it and put some seasonal content on there
yeah,
to bring it back to life. But yeah, EDZ is just it feels alive. The Cosmodrome didn't really feel that back in Destiny 1, but that's probably going to be completely different when we go back
oh,
there.
yeah, definitely.
Um, so for now, EDZ. Ask me again in 6 months.
Right, so Netflix or Twitch?
uh, Twitch.
Robocop or Terminator?
Oh, Terminator, man.
PS5, Xbox Series X, or PC?
PC.
Mm.
PC.
Fish and chips or a curry?
These are actually really tough. These are harder than the questions you were asking before. Oh, fish and chips and curry. You know I'm a foodie as well. I was gagging for a curry yesterday too. Bro, I'll go curry.
Nice choice.
Yeah.
So, last one. Fast cars or luxury cars?
Um, Luxury cars. I think if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I might have answered that very differently.
Yeah, you've got to be comfortable.
Comfortable and economical, man. I've got a hybrid now.
Ah, right. So we will move on to the last subject of this podcast. So content creating. So now moving into what you actually do.
Yeah.
So obviously you make content for Destiny on YouTube
Mm.
and you stream on YouTube. I know I was there. I,
Yeah.
I do pop in, but normally I'm busy cooking dinner when you're streaming, so I don't actually get time to type. But I did say hello today. But how did you get into making content for YouTube?
YouTube, yeah. It's been an interesting journey overall, really. Like I said earlier, I've been a part of a few different clans in my time in Destiny. Um, Twitch was quite new. I remember joining Twitch when it was Justin.tv back in the day, setting up an account and stuff, but not really, I didn't really do anything with it. You do it with the intention of doing it, but it all really comes down to effort. And
Yeah.
I feel like I would always make an excuse, whether that be work, life, whatever. Um, I would always not have the time. And like I said earlier, if you're saying that you don't have the time, it's because you probably don't want to do it.
Mm,
So it's really understanding what those barriers are. Um, and I guess a big thing for me as well, and much like with skateboarding and guitar and stuff, I'd always used to say to myself, I wish I started these things sooner. And then that became the excuse for not even starting at all. And that's such a wrong mentality because you can achieve anything. It doesn't matter how old you are. Age is merely a number, but your age doesn't stop your ability to be able to
yeah.
do something. But it's being having that frame of mind, um, being able to learn, um, and learn from your own mistakes as well as mistakes of others too. Um, and that helps sort of guide you on the right path. But yeah, I start with the Twitch thing. Um, I did that for a little while, but I guess when I had when I had a full time job, when I had a traditional job, having a finding the balance between work and having a regular schedule on Twitch was really hard. It's actually probably impossible. I had a job where I worked 4 on 4 off, working nights,
Oh
so
God.
it meant that I couldn't say I'll stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8 p.m.
Mm,
till late because I could be working Monday, 1 week. That 4 on 4 off just moves constantly, right?
yeah.
So yeah, it became an impossible task. And I remember being at a convention it wasn't a convention, it was more like one of the Get Wrecked events in Nottingham they did back in 2018, I think it was. And my friend Liam was just talking to me. He was like, Handish was there too, because I've been friends with him for much longer than I've ever created content. And he was just saying that, you should try YouTube just because, I can create videos when I have time. I can schedule them and post them even when I'm working.
Yeah.
Um, because Twitch is one of those platforms. If you're not live, it's very difficult to grow. You can grow in other ways if by, we spoke a bit before, by flexing other platforms, whether it be TikTok, Twitter, even YouTube, by moving around those sort of algorithms, you can grow. But if your primary focus is on a said platform like Twitch, um, if you're not live on Twitch, then there's not, your options are limited.
Yeah.
So I sort of went back really and sort of like reviewed what I had. I got in touch with my friend Ryan, also known as Writing Jackal, who does a lot of design work and illustrations and stuff. He's done some crazy work for like Dakota and Real Crafty and stuff like that. He was actually a member of my clan before we both even created content for a living. So we've known each other for a long time. So he sorted me out with like my logo and all my branding stuff originally. And I started from scratch again, really. And I created my YouTube account in 2016. And you upload a few videos, right? You
Yeah.
try and become an overnight sensation, and it's like, why is no one watching these videos? And this video's got 30 views or whatever, and it's like, well, actually, 15 of those are probably me. Just making sure it's live. you
Yeah.
know, and all these cool little bits. But yeah, you don't see the instant overnight success that
Yeah.
you hope. I guess your expectations are far above what you're able to initially deliver. But that's part of the learning experience. So I took what I learned on my first time around, which was probably back in 2016. And I sort of came back with a slightly different approach in 2018. Naturally having lots of conversations with people that have been successful, personal friends like Houndish and other creators like Anubis at Get Ret Labs, who's done incredible work from the community, not just from a design perspective, but also in terms of helping people grow and learn how to grow across multiple platforms. It's been an eye opener, um, and yeah, just adjusting the way you approach it really.
Yeah.
So I started again in 2018 at the beginning of Forsaken, and some people might say that's quite late to start. Really, Destiny 2 major expansion. Um, because most people that were established in the community now started when even before Destiny had launched, right?
Mm.
Some of the most biggest members and pillars of our community and stuff. And in a way, it is probably a little bit late, but there's late or there's never. So
Yeah.
you
Oh yeah.
you might as well go for it. So yeah, I worked through that, and I guess I've been doing it as a side hustle for probably about 18 months or so. Sort of uploading videos between my shifts off, waking up early, trying to get videos out even on shifts on, which might even result in 3 or 4 hours sleep on occasions and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but YouTube is one of those platforms where consistency is king. And as long as you can remain consistent in not just your upload schedule, but the quality of what you're trying to deliver and the consistency that you're able to deliver it, then it's not a surefire thing for success, but those are some of the key foundations you need to be able to deliver. And then you've got like all the SEOs and how you title your videos, tag them, and descriptions, and they all link in together to help the video perform well on the platform. But your behavior before you even get to that point needs to be those key pillars. So, yeah, I did that for a while, and we saw quite good success, man. I mean, I think I got probably what did I have at the beginning of this year? I think I had about 10,000 subs at the beginning of this year, and that was probably after about 18 months or so.
Yeah.
The first 1,000 subs is definitely the hardest subs on YouTube because you can't become a YouTube partner without having 1,000 subs and 4,000 hours in watch time. And without YouTube partner, you can't monetize your content. So if YouTube can't put ads in your content, they can't make money from your content.
Yeah.
So it becomes this vicious circle. It's like, well, if you're not going
Yeah.
to put videos on ads on my content to make money, then you're not going to push them for anyone to watch either, and
Yeah.
it's going to be quite hard for you to get views. So my biggest recommendation for anyone that wants to do YouTube is to really and hasn't uploaded or hasn't got you know YouTube partner yet. And even if you do get YouTube partner, it's still a key thing to bear in mind is really aim for search traffic. So like YouTube is the second biggest search engine on the internet behind Google, owned by Google, right?
Yeah.
So you need to understand what it is your viewer is searching for and really try and position your content to plug those gaps. You want to focus on being the plug the plug in all the content that's on YouTube. If you try and compete with, you know, the larger channels, then you're just going to get swamped because they'll naturally just rank higher on certain phrases or certain keywords. So you do need to be a bit smart about what videos you do,
Yeah.
but nothing's impossible. And that will help you get those early views, which help drive traffic to your other videos as well. So um, yeah, that's where I probably saw some early success with a lot of some of my search traffic and stuff. And I've been able to diversify a lot as I've sort of grown, because YouTube is a bit more organic now, algorithmically, with sort of pushing my videos out to browse and recommended and
Yeah.
stuff, and that just helps you grow more more organically. So that's a result of early investment in the work that you do. And but this year, um, so I had a traditional job, but they made some business changes, and I decided to step away from that after being there for nearly a decade. But My job involved a lot of analytics and numbers. So when
Yeah.
you put that with all the Google Trends and all the YouTube analytics, I'm looking at that and I'm just at home because it's what I'm used to looking at.
Yeah.
But I'm looking past the numbers that I guess people really focus too much on and unnecessarily so. Um, Obviously the sub number is a big number, and I guess people really think that with Twitch too. You know how many followers you have, how many subs you have, and those are important metrics because on Twitch, especially, subs drive an income for the content creator, and on YouTube, sub number doesn't necessarily reflect the income that channel makes.
Yeah.
Um, it's not even the views either because yes, views is important, but it's also it's the watch time that is the key one. It's how
Right.
long people are watching your videos for. You could get 1 million views a month, but if they're only watching it for a minute, um, it's not going to do well for you. But if you give 1 million views a month and they're watching them for 3 or 4 minutes, that's 4 million minutes watch time. That's a completely different ball game,
Yeah.
and that's probably you know a reasonable turnover um, compared to a traditional job. So it's really understanding what's important and what metric to really chase. Watch time is the key one because it's keeping people engaged in your content, whether that be how you put it together, how you present it, and how you structure it as well. Because there can be a lot of fluff on YouTube, and having the whole thing reduced to 8 minutes as the optimal time for a video,
Yeah.
I feel is better for the viewer because it means they haven't got to sit through loads of not loads but additional fluff that you may have occasionally seen over the years just to try and lengthen videos out unnecessarily. So, but that would be the key metric to chase if you're thinking about YouTube. Focus on search traffic. Don't chase the sub number because if people are engaged with your content and are enjoying your content, that sub number will look after itself.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's one thing that I've never really set my goal for is how many subs do I want at the end of the year? Because there's so much can happen in a year. You don't really know.
Yeah.
You could be getting 10 subs a day 1 month. You could be getting 100 subs a day the next month. You could get beyond light launch, and then suddenly I'm getting 1,000 subs a day, and you get exponential growth over a very short period of time.
Mm.
And there's an element of unpredictability there as well. But what underpins that is hard work and dedication. Because if you don't work for it, then you can't expect it to happen. Um, I guess the final thing to say on it is that a lot of people really YouTube's quite competitive, and there's a lot of comparing each other to each other. What are they doing that I'm not doing?
Yeah.
How comes they're getting all the views and I'm not getting any views? And it can become quite this, not hostile. Hostile's too hard a word, but there's a real competitiveness there.
Yeah.
Um, some of it healthy, most of it not. But what you have to understand is everyone is on the same path. It's heading in the same direction, but it's just some might be on a slightly different path to you. You'll get there eventually as long as you continue with the things that are important to be successful. But it's just some people just may achieve it sooner than you.
Yeah.
It's like when you're in Heathrow, right? And you got someone that's walking on that conveyor, that flipping travelator to their
Yeah.
terminal,
Yeah.
doing 20 miles an hour, and you're not, right? Sometimes you're just that guy that's not. But it doesn't mean your suitcase isn't full of all the good stuff too. It just means you'll still get to the terminal. You might be 20 minutes later than
Yeah.
that guy. Um, and some people just get this sort of like smoke screen and they can't see past it, and then it becomes a bit of a barrier. Um, don't let someone else be your barrier. That's all I'll say on it. But it's been an interesting journey. This year especially, I've been really putting my all into it since March, since I sort of stepped away from the traditional job and made this my thing.
Yeah.
So we've gone from 10,000 to 45,000 in that time. Um, and what's over been considered a relatively quiet period in Destiny, right? We've had a bit of a lull the last 3 months,
Yeah. Just a little bit.
uh, just a little bit. And we've not had experienced that in Destiny 2 ever. Actually, it's the first time we've had it in Destiny 2. We've had a lot of content droughts in Destiny 1. I wouldn't have wanted to been a Destiny creator during those times because that
Mm.
would have been very challenging. But what I have said is that this lull has been a unique challenge for me because creating creating content based on search traffic when there's not a lot of traffic that's being searched for, um, poses an interesting challenge. But if you can adapt and overcome it, then you're setting yourself up for some, good times ahead. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping for Beyond Light to be good. I feel like I've done a good job up until now. I wouldn't like to know what numbers I'll be hitting by the end of the year, but you're only as good as your last video. So
yeah, of
I'm just going
course,
to
yeah.
focus on the next one and see what happens.
Cool. Well, you answered my next three questions in that, so that's all great. But so obviously you stream on YouTube as well. Obviously watching you earlier. How
Mm,
how do you feel the comparison between obviously uh, well, what's this, Sax? I don't know if you sit while you're making your videos for YouTube, but the
mm,
comparison from doing that and it's not people watching you live, and then you put a video out that's obviously, well, technically it's pre-recorded that you're putting out, to sat
mm.
there like you were earlier, live streaming, or like we are now. What,
Yeah, yeah.
how do you find the different, how different it is, or is it different?
It is different, yeah. I find there's less. I find I feel less stress when I'm streaming because I can feel like I can relax and enjoy the game.
Yeah,
When you're pre-recording stuff and you're making a video, you're pressed for time. You're competing with other channels to either get that out first or
mm,
to try and put something out in a timely manner. So there's stresses that are getting added onto what you're doing um, to put it out there. Whereas when you're streaming, I'll be honest with you, dude, it is one of the only times I really get to sit and relax and play the game.
yeah,
And I much rather be able to do that. If I can be live while doing that, then that's great. But those, with family and stuff, it's not until like now later in the evening when they're tucked up in bed that I have the opportunities to do it,
yes,
right? So going live isn't something that I will obviously be doing on a regular, but if there's main events or resets, then uh, my better half is very supportive and helps me achieve those goals. Um, Being pre-recorded means I can flex around,
yeah,
work life behind the scenes. From the outside, everything just seems like it comes out at the same time roughly every day, 8 p.m. UK time or 2 p.m. UK time if there's double uploads. So it's consistent from a viewership perspective, but
mm,
behind the scenes, it's a it's a well-oiled machine. But trust me, it's not a one-man army. None of this would be possible without her. Let's be real. So
yeah.
but yeah, streaming definitely allows me to be a bit more relaxed and talk a bit more, which is nice.
How do you find so like your community? I'm I guess your community are the ones that watch your uploaded videos, but also the ones that were there chatting away while you were streaming earlier.
Yeah.
How good is it to have? Because they all seem, when I've been in, they all seem really nice people chatting away. How good is it to have a good, nice community?
Yeah, it's uh I guess that's credit to them as well, but also I guess I mean, there was a brief conversation even in the stream today because I think we had someone that was recently banned in the community Discord, and I just
Oh,
said,
I remember that's something to do with spamming something. Oh,
there's a couple of different instances and stuff where whether it be spamming something or
it wasn't Grandad,
something
was it?
relative. Yeah, he spams a lot of stuff, to be honest. You should see my DMs. I'm
Ah.
joking. But but yeah, there's it's what if you're willing to accept something, you're almost setting the precedent that that's deemed okay.
Mm,
And spamming something might be just you need to. I often say you either need to chill out or you need to get out or move on. Um, whether that be the YouTube chat or the Discord, because it only takes one person to really unsettle everything. And when you're
yeah,
trying to adhere to values that are close to you, but also terms of services for the platforms that you're on, for
yeah,
the sake of someone that's trying to prove a point or be edgy for the sake of being edgy, I ain't got time for that. And there's 3,000 people in my Discord, and they don't deserve someone just trying to be edgy. They're just trying to
no,
play a video game. So you want to do that, you probably best, you go find some like-minded people to be edgy with. Um, but thankfully, those are, exceptions rather than the rule. but you need to handle them appropriately. That's what my mods are there for. Um, and I guess the key part for that conversation in the stream today is not really make those individuals talking points, because I want all the good things that we do in that Discord to be the talking points, not because X, Y, and Z started talking about,
Yeah.
this, that, or the other. And, you know, some conversations just aren't going to end well, because no one shares a common opinion on something,
Yeah.
um, whether it be political or any other motives. And it's just you just don't need it, man. Because especially when you want a relaxed, engaging, and chill environment. People play video games to relax and escape from things, and enjoy time with friends and family and stuff like that. The last thing they want is someone just trying to be edgy, man.
Yeah.
And if and in that example in today, it woke me up at 4 a.m. and stuff as well. It's just like
Ah.
I'm not going to have a lot of time to process this. Get one of my
Yeah.
mods to handle it, and I'll pick it up later in the morning. And it was what it was. But yeah, I mean, like I say, 99.9% of my community are crazy supportive to the point where I don't even know where half of it comes from. You know, but yeah, it's how you are and what you're willing to accept sets the type of viewer that's willing to stick around in your chat. If you allow that person to stick there that's sort of festering, then you can fully expect your chat to fester and become that type of community. Um, so you have control over what you're willing to, allow to happen. Don't be scared to eject those people uh, if they're not adhering to the values that you hold dear and that you feel that you and your community are willing to accept.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Right. So we've got to the last question of this podcast,
Mm.
and then the most important question. So, when you sign up to YouTube, is there a clause that says all YouTubers have to say the same words or phrases or have a catchphrase at the end of their videos?
uh, no, it doesn't.
But it
No.
seems everyone, I say everyone, a lot of people, like I think you say something similar at the end of your videos, and I'll see you back in the game or something along those
Okay.
lines, and it's like
Oh, I can't remember what I say now. I'm gonna have to roll it off in its full. Where it's just like it's just yeah, it just comes out. What the hell do I say now? Oh yeah, I'm gonna jump back into the game as always.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And the person that's been mentioned a few times, Houndish, always says, "I hope you have a lovely day," and it seems like an unwritten, unconscious rule that
Yeah, it's an individual quirk. It's quite a cool thing to have though, because it's a memorable piece. I guess it's what we talked about earlier with music, right? Some of those older dance tracks have hooks and stuff.
yeah,
And content creators do things, even if it's consciously or subconsciously, that people remember. Like people troll on Rikakis for whether it be for the length of his videos or his intros or whatever
mm.
like that.
But everyone
Dude, that's
remembers him.
good. Like, but that's good though.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like his videos are long for a reason. They're concise and informative. His intro is he has fun with his intro now, which is
yeah.
pretty funny. Sometimes I just watch it just to find out what he's calls himself this week, So
Or whether it's
it's pretty
his other half doing it.
yeah, it's and some people are a bit more uniform, I guess. Like myself, I don't diverse from it too much. I guess it's a bit of a safe zone. Intros
Yeah,
and outros tend to be quite safe zones, but you just want to make sure you're doing the same. I guess it's trying to. There's call to actions that we talk about as YouTubers. So whether that be because engagement on the video, whether that be liking, commenting, subscribing, all those
yeah,
traditional phrases, any form of those types of engagements, have a positive impact on that video and how it performs and how the algorithm sees it. So it might seem like it's a mundane request for you to do, but it actually has a really important role on how that video then goes on to perform.
mm,
Um, so and people react differently to those calls. Some people will act on those verbal calls for you to do something, where others are more visual, and that's where you start seeing like the visual elements appear on the videos,
yeah,
like in mine, Rikakis's, and even Houndish's as well. So because what you have to appreciate is not everyone is watching your video. Like you said earlier, you're you were in my stream, but you might have been cooking. So for the most part,
Yeah,
my stream might have been it could have been a podcast for you, and that would have been just fine, you know. So you need to make sure your audio is good, but you're still having those, verbal call to action. So when you have the opportunity to, you still, you could still do it if you wanted to.
yeah,
So because yours is a visual piece of content, don't just always assume everyone's watching it. I'm in the kitchen too. I've got like a Google Hub Max, and half the time I've got Twitch on there, and I'm just watching someone while I'm doing a steak or whatever.
yeah.
I can't be, I won't be chatting away, but I'll be lurking and laughing away to whatever they're joking about, or what, or Grandad raging again in Crucible or whatever. It's just.
The bloody, bloody, bloody.
Oh yeah. Oh, it never changes.
No, no. Well, like you say, it's like a verbal branding that
Yeah,
people.
it's an extension of your brand, and it has an important role to play on the content itself too.
Oh, that's great. So that wraps up the podcast. Uh,
Hey,
it was very informative, and all I can do is thank you very much for agreeing to join me this evening. I've enjoyed it.
it's been good fun, man. It's been good fun. I do need to go get another coffee. I'm sort of one of these guys though. I could have a coffee and then go straight to bed, and it's fine.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm not like one of these coffee right now. I'm up till 4 a.m. I could sleep on a tea, coffee, you name it. So
yeah. So I think I'm gonna go make a coffee in a minute. But like I say, thank you very much. Hopefully everyone in chat enjoyed watching and listening to everything you had to say. Uh, I did.
awesome.
I did. What we usually do at the end of my streams is we go out and we show love to someone else. We go raid or host out another channel. It's all
Cool.
about showing love and doing all that type of stuff. Now, Grandad's not on, so I can't go to him. He should be in bed, but I can see him twittering away in there. Oh, there he is. So let me just put that on. And because I've not been on that for a while, that's gone off. Suppose I best see who's on. So, and while I'm looking, again, thank you very much, Jav, for this evening. For those that are watching, I'm back tomorrow night with another interview coming thick and fast this week, and it's one of your Last Rights members, Katie Cat, is joining me tomorrow night.
Okay, Cat, let's go. She's been killing it, dude.
She has been
We
killing it.
Yeah, we met briefly. We actually sat next to each other at the last Get Wrecked event in February, but didn't really know each other uh, too well. But obviously, we got to know each other a bit more as the years progressed out. But yeah, man, she's smashed it this year.
She has,
Well deserved partner.
absolutely.
So that'd be a good one, man. I'll drop by and
Oh,
see how it
thank you.
goes.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us to another member of the Sublime Stream team that we are all a member of. She is a fantastic streamer. She loves raiding, and I like taking my community across to her because, like I say, she's a really happy, nice person. She's a good shaper. She has a good group with her all the time. So we're going to go see Empress Jadis when that does. So again, thank you very much for joining me, Jav,
No
and
worries. Thanks for
we
having me,
we
man.
will go across and see Empress. So good night, chat. Hope you all take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.